If you've seen the Roblox game catalog over the past few months, you might have noticed that all the games on it suck and are all either slop or an RNG game. But what if I told you that the best game on the platform is also the most obscure one? Obby, but you have a trowel, or Obby Hat for short, is its name. When I joined the game, I had a great first impression. Okay, so I joined the game and first thing that I noticed is I have no pants on. After a couple seconds, you'll see a prompt to play the tutorial, and after clicking it, you'll get teleported to a place to know more about how to play the game. The tutorial shows us how to use the trowel to climb up things and go across objects, but it also shows us our first obstacle, spikes. Spikes are the main danger of the game, killing the player instantly when hit. It also has different looking variants depending on what level you're on, but we'll talk about that later. While climbing through 100 meters, you'll see amazing tips on the floor such as, place a wall here, and also, these are spikes, do not touch them. Which is great advice for somebody who didn't go through the trouble of playing the tutorial and immediately trying to go up the mountain. 100 meters is also very plain and simple with its layout. There's nothing too difficult, but sometimes it is hard to jump up to a platform, even while on a wall, which then forces you to do a little shuffle. 100 meters is also the introduction to most obstacles that you'll be seeing throughout the game. Like ladders go up to higher platforms, and skinny planks of wood that make sure you're always paying attention to where your body is so you don't fall off. Now mind you, this game takes some time to actually beat. My first playthrough of the game took around 4 hours, so if you want to beat it all in one sitting, I suggest you get a snack or something. Probably beat this in like 20 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes. 200 meters gameplay isn't too much different, but we can see that everything is now snowy and cold. We also now get introduced to another variant of the spike, which blends into the snow very well. Now, I'm gonna be honest, 100 to 200 meters is incredibly annoying because of one new obstacle: ice. Ice makes the ground slippery, making it really hard to stay on things and not fall into the void. One way to counteract this is by jumping right when you land on a slippery surface, which will stop all your movement. Other than that, 200 meters is still pretty easy, and nothing too new is introduced, which allows you to get more practice with the mechanics of the game. 300 meters is where you need to actually start paying more attention to the game. A new game mechanic is introduced, and it's water. Water is basically a trampoline for some reason, boosting the player up to reach higher places. Something also unique about 300 meters is that there are routes that lead to nowhere, so you'll have to be careful to not follow a red herring and wasting some time. 300 meters theme seems to be about grass and forest stuff, with the spike variant being replaced from the snowy one back to the normal one. Once you're done the first little bit of the level, you reach a small town with some nice houses. It's a small area where you can look at the level ahead. A little bit later into the level, you can see an option to go to 2 routes, the hard or the normal route. And you guys already know what route I picked. Yeah, no, I picked the normal route. Look, I'm pretty sure the hard route is more challenging but shorter, so if you want to speedrun the game, I suggest you go through the hard route to save those precious nanoseconds. After reaching the town at the top of 300 meters, there's a cave with a sign that basically says what the main danger of this level is. The bright, cheery theme of 300 meters has been replaced by the dark and dangerous one of 400 meters. Something that sets this level apart from the other ones is that spikes aren't used at all. Instead, it's replaced with lava being the main threat. Lava acts differently than the spikes, because it only kills you instantly if your torso touches it, but it also makes it a massive nuisance if it touches any other part of your body, because it'll just completely remove it. So if you touch some lava with your right arm, you won't be able to use the trowel anymore, and you'll have to manually reset your character. 500 meters is very different in the way that the level's structured, as it's very vertical and it seems more like a regular obby. You're gonna have to use your trowel a lot for this level, while also making sure that you're not going to accidentally fall off while trying to go across some ledges. The normal spikes are also reintroduced, so you won't have to deal with the lava anymore. The spikes are now used in more unique ways, like being on the bottom of ceilings so you can't jump, making you need to use your trowel to climb up things. Water is also brought back from 300 meters, but it's used more to help you reach higher places, with the level being so vertical. Things that seem to have some deeper lore also start showing up in this level. There's a crashed plane at around 445 meters. I don't exactly know what the implications of that is, but it's there. 600 meters is basically your average stereotypical desert level in any game ever. The spikes are now tan, and now there's cactuses, cacti, whatever the plural version of it is, the green plant with spikes are everywhere. They thankfully don't instantly kill you, but still, don't get too comfy with them. There's also pyramids with mazes when you go inside, that I could not figure out for the life of me. 600 meters also has the same trick as 500 meters, with the spikes being on the ceiling, so be cautious of that whenever you're in first person. This level's pretty long compared to some of the previous ones, but it also has a pretty fun layout. The theming is generic, but the actual structure of the level is pretty good, and some parts are kind of hard. 700 meters takes a completely different route when it comes to obstacles, because instead of the main threat being something that can damage you, now it's the wind. You have to travel across narrow planks and ledges, while the gusts of wind try to blow you off. It's a nice detour from what all the previous levels are about, but one critique I do have is that this level has one of the most confusing layouts ever, and I got lost a couple times. The aesthetic of the level is nice to look at. The mushrooms and massive pillars of rock really add to the feel that this mountain is incredibly large, as this is just a cave inside of the mountain. The megalophobic environment of 700 meters is completely thrown out with the contrast of the claustrophobic mines in 800 meters. Crystals and sharp stalactites also line the walls and ceiling. Dynamite is also a cool new thing you get to play around with, but don't go too close or you'll blow up with it. Lava is also seeping from the walls and ground, so be cautious of where you're going, and especially be careful what type of crystal you're touching, because the red ones won't kill you immediately, just like the cactus, but they'll hurt you much faster. Near the end of 800 meters, you'll only be able to see red crystals, and then you'll reach the final wall you need to blow up until you make it to 900 meters. After crossing the bridge, it leads to a small town with some more lore that I don't know about. There's a helicopter with some green goop that kills you instantly inside. After going past the road and climbing up a bit more, there's an icy room with a random ladder outside of it. This ice section reminds me of the ones from 200 meters, but now it's even harder. You get to make an important decision in the next room, because there are two gaps you can cross. One leads to the exit, the other one also leads to the exit. So, pretty cool. Once you go up the path, you'll see a door that you need to open by pulling a lever that's off to the side. Now lasers are something you need to be careful of. They are really hard to see. The goop's also everywhere now, so watch out for that. And also pay attention to the ceiling, because spike traps are now something to look out for. You'll see a red layer cover the floor of where the trap is triggered, but it's also hard to see, just like the lasers. A tip I have so you don't need to juke the spike is to use your trowel as bait, because it triggers the trap too. Make sure to also use your trowel to get some height when going across the goop pits. This building is also full of secrets and stuff, like a portal gun? I'm not sure if this is actually important to the story of the game, or if it's just an Easter egg. After doing some other little shenanigans, you have to go through a maze with those spike traps everywhere. Once leaving the building, you get to go to the outside, where it's very cold and desolate. The spikes are now white and hidden in mounds of snow. There's homes scattered around the place, but they're all empty and some still have their doors still open, maybe meaning that whoever lived in them before had to rush to get out. The final part of 900 meters is an icy path that you have to take. The chunks of ice are big enough that it isn't too easy to slip off, but still, jump to cancel sliding whenever you get onto a new block of ice. After beating 900 meters, you get your reward, a campfire. 1,000 meters is introduced with a castle wall protecting a garden and a little building, which then leads to a cliff. There's a whole lot more spikes in this level than the other ones before. Once you get to the top of the first cliff, there's a lava pool that has some pretty hard parts to go across. There's also another lava pit soon after that now has red crystals added into the mix. After that part, there's a sort of maze that really confused me at first. Then after going across the cliff ahead of the maze and jumping into the pit from Undertale, you go into a tunnel that opens into a massive cave. Once you reach the top of the cave, you get to see the highest town on the mountain. It appears to be a more developed town than all the previous ones. You can even talk to all the residents in the town. After another short climb up a cliff, you get rewarded with the airport at the top of the mountain. You even get to see some cool helicopters and stuff. 1,000 meters is a big level, and a great way to finish off the game in my opinion. The developers have expressed interest that they want to make another game on another mountain to continue the plot. But instead of waiting for the next mountain to release, you can complete some quests to get some more trowels. You can get the time trowel, the molten trowel, the ice trowel, and the brick trowel. There's also quests to give you objects that don't just build things, like the bomb trowel that spawns a bomb that can launch you higher or fling you into a certain direction if used correctly. And then there's also the leaping potion that increases your jump height a fair bit for a short period of time. They also have a different version of the game release that will give you another reward, the golden trowel. This version is called hard mode. Instead of there being checkpoints going up to 1,000 meters, you only have one shot to reach the top of the mountain, and if you die, you get respawned back at the very bottom. Obby Hat is an amazing game, with its gameplay being simple yet entertaining and its character that shows when climbing through the levels. I highly recommend even just playing the game for a bit and seeing if you enjoy it, because it really is worth checking out.